Alright, so a couple months ago, I went and picked up the Fitbit Charge 4, and I thought I would just do a little talk about what I like about it, what I don't like about it. The new Charge 5 has just come out, so it is a little bit of a price difference now. The Charge 4 has been discounted, so a lot of people may be looking into getting the Charge 4. So I wanted to give my opinions after using it for quite a little bit, and, what I think about it. What's up everyone, Caddac here, and today I'm going to go over the Fitbit Charge 4 and how I've been enjoying it the last couple months. Now, I picked up the Charge 4 a few months ago when they were discounting everything to prepare for the new devices being launched, and I picked it up for about $100 US. Now, right now, it's available for about $130 US on places like Amazon. They don't have it on the official store anymore because the Charge 5 is now available for $180 US. Now, there were two main versions of the Charge 4. There was the standard Charge 4 and there was the special edition, which only included a different band. Nothing about the actual wearable device was different. It was just the band difference. So the main reason I went and picked up a Fitbit in the first place was because I've been having trouble sleeping. So I thought having something to help track my sleep and tell me, give me a little bit more information would be helpful. And also something to help motivate me to be a little bit more active on a regular basis. It doesn't hurt, and I miss having that in my life. I used to wear my watch all the time, but the biggest problem with wearing a watch is that it's a lot larger on your wrist. I have really big wrists, so just bending my wrist back and forth or any kind of movement like that, it's very noticeable, and it can get really uncomfortable, especially when doing some kind of workout. So having something nice and small like the Fitbit Charge was absolutely perfect for me. Now, the Charge 4 has tons of features: heart rate tracking, sleep tracking. You're able to see active zone minutes. You're able to see your heart rate zone minutes when you're doing activity. The sleep tracking, again, is something that I used a lot and I still use a lot on a daily basis. I use it to track how much sleep I'm getting because I do have a lot of troubles falling asleep lately. And I also use it to help kind of track a general idea of my calorie burns per day. So I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, and in versus out in caloric intake is a big part of losing weight. So I'm trying to keep track of that to kind of see where I'm at. So the exercise tracking has actually been really good. I use it quite a bit. I try to do nightly walks of about an hour or a bike ride of about 35 minutes or so. It's been really awesome. It's really easy to do. The one thing that I do find to be the most finicky is actually the GPS tracking, and I'll go over that a little bit later. But the GPS is kind of a hit or miss, and it's usually my biggest problem as a whole with the Fitbit in terms of its general usability. Now, a smaller thing that I use on a regular basis is actually the agenda. Now, I don't use the agenda directly on the device itself, but I have alerts set up on my phone for my Google Calendar, and anytime those pop up, they appear on my watch. It helps me avoid missing any kind of reminders that I have set up, especially. So things like taking a medicine, or an appointment coming up, or a phone call meeting coming up, or something along those lines. It's really helpful to just have my wrist vibrate. And because I have almost all notifications turned off on the wristwatch or the wearable, I know that if it's vibrating, it's a reminder and that I should check it immediately. Now, this also has Spotify control, so you don't actually get to use Spotify on here, but you can use it to control Spotify on another device, like your computer or most likely your phone, which would then be connected to your headphones when you're doing an exercise, for example. Now, I really don't use it because the interface is very clunky. A lot of the interfaces for the apps that are on this wearable are not very good, and I would prefer just doing it on my phone because it's faster. Another example of this would be the Fitbit Pay. There's a ton of steps to get through in order to use this as a tap to pay feature, and in most countries anyways, there's not a lot of supported banks, unless you're in the United States, which has a ton of supported banks. In Canada, there's only about 5. And it's not just like MasterCard or American Express or Visa. The actual issuer of the card has to support it. And trying to use this and putting in a pin on this little wearable device is so much slower than just picking up your phone and using your fingerprint or face detection in order to use your phone to tap, which I'm assuming if you're picking up a Fitbit, you probably have a phone that has NFC on it anyways, and that would honestly be so much faster. So I never use Fitbit Pay or the Spotify on here for those reasons. Now, I also got 3 months of Fitbit Premium included with my purchase because I bought it through the Fitbit website. And to be honest, I use a few of the features like the more in-depth sleep analysis and the wellness report. But other than that, I don't really use a lot of the other features. I don't use the workouts that they give me. I don't use the games or challenges. I don't use the recipes or the mindfulness sessions or the guided programs. Really, it's just for the advanced sleep analytics. And I use the wellness report and I forward it off to my doctor every once in a while just to keep them updated. For most people and anybody using the Charge device, I don't really think the Premium is worth it. On certain higher end devices that have a few more sensors that the Premium utilizes, like the Fitbit Sense, for example, I think it would be a better option, but I don't think you really need Fitbit Premium as a generic person like myself. So again, I want to go over why I chose the Fitbit Charge 4 specifically, my main use cases. So main reason I chose this is its size. It's nice and small. I barely noticed it's there. I actually very early on bought a replacement band that is cloth instead of rubber. It's a little bit more comfortable. It's a little bit smaller because the rubber kind of has its own shape, but the cloth fits to your wrist a little bit better. So that was a very worthy upgrade that I immediately did. The battery life was huge, it having 7 days, so I really only have to charge it for the time basically I shower. So I'll take it off before I shower. By the time I come out, it's basically right back up to 100%. And then, when I'm camping or what have you, I don't have to worry about charging it all the time. It'll stay charged. But that also goes into the downside with the GPS, because with GPS on, you only get about 5 hours. So if you're doing a hike or a day hike, your Fitbit, if you're trying to track that hike, this Fitbit is not going to last you throughout that entire exercise, which I learned the hard way when I was camping. So that leads really well into the pros and cons. So again, pros, the generic battery life on this is fantastic. Its size is great. Its comfort is really, really nice. I really like the display. The display is nice. It's very easy to read. There's a lot of watch faces that you can choose. I chose one that I believe gives me the information that I want really easily. And it does track basically all of the things that I particularly want to pay attention to, like my heart rate, my steps, and my sleep. Now for the cons. So as I mentioned, I've run into a few GPS issues. So the GPS will kill the battery really quickly. So I've tried using GPS on the phone. You have 3 different ways to use GPS. You can have GPS off, you can have GPS on the phone, or you can have GPS on the wearable itself, or you can have a dynamic where it'll choose. And anytime I've tried to have it so that it only uses my phone GPS, it'll end up losing connection to the GPS satellite midway through my workout, and then it doesn't track any of the GPS stuff like the distance, where I've gone, and all that kind of stuff, which is a big pain in the butt because it's kind of information that I do want to have. I'm not sure if it's problems with my phone. I don't have another phone that I could test it with, but it has become a problem, and I do consider it quite the downside because the battery dies so quickly if you try to use the GPS on here. So I did run into a kind of a problem when I was doing a lot of hikes where I had to kind of choose that I want to try to use my Fitbit with the GPS on the device for as long as possible and just let it die through the hike, or do I want to track it on my phone and risk losing GPS midway through my exercise? Or the third option, do I want to just track it on my phone? Because you can use the Fitbit app to track exercises as well, but then I would lose out on things like the heart rate tracking and the steps. Another thing I noticed while doing those hikes, it was extremely hot. It was like in the mid 30s plus the humidity, so it was very, very hot. I was very, very sweaty, and the watch kept on giving me notifications that it couldn't charge properly. So I guess the amount of sweat that was on my arms was just causing it to think that I was putting it to the charger or something, and I kept on getting notifications, and I don't think that really helped with the fact that the battery was dying very quickly due to the GPS. So take that as you will. I kept on running into that as an issue. And speaking of the way my body ruins this device, the button is terrible. The button is on the side of the device here, and because I have arm hair, I often find that it's very difficult for me to actually press in the button on the side because it's capacitive. It's not a physical button. And I do feel like maybe the button should have been a little bit higher up on the device instead of being midway down the body. It could have made it a little bit easier. Over time, I felt that I can get it a little bit easier, but I still have to like press it a couple times sometimes to get it to notice the fact that I'm pressing that button. So in conclusion, this is great as a very simple device. Now that the Charge 5 is out, this is going to be a very good budget option. I think it's still great. You have a lot of band possibilities on Amazon and on Fitbit themselves. I do recommend getting a cloth band for comfort, and if you do plan on sleeping with it, it does help quite a bit. My sister also got one, and she said that changing over to the cloth band made a huge difference because she was using the rubber band for a while. Again, if you do get this, I suggest that all of the fancy features like Spotify and Fitbit Pay, you don't really use them on here. Just use your phone. That's the way I do it. It's a lot better. And they honestly don't work that well. Like even the weather app on here is kind of a waste of time. Just pull it up on your phone. You can probably get to it quicker anyways. But other than the cumbersome menus on here, this is really, really good for simple tracking, having some quick information, having a watch, because it does tell time. And as a very inexpensive option, it does a lot for something that's under 150 bucks. It's really great, and it'll often go on sale, and because the Charge 5 is out, I do believe that it'll just constantly drop in price. So as long as it's available in places like Amazon or Best Buy, you'll probably be able to pick it up. Even with things like Black Friday coming up, they may discount it even further, so keep an eye out for it. And I hope you found this review helpful. I'm going to try to review more kind of techie items that I just pick up for myself. I don't really get items sent to me, so a lot of these are going to be things that I just pick up for myself and decide that I want to cover. So I will be going over some keyboards that I've picked up and whatnot. If you do kind of like these reviews and you want me to do more of them, let me know. If there's any particular items you would like me to look at, leave a comment in the section below and I'll try to go over them. If you did find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you like subscribed. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, or again, if you have anything that you would like me to review in the future, please leave those in the comment section below and I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can. Thanks again for watching the end of the video. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Friday.